Hey guys, my name is Matumio, and today I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I went back and played some Battlefield 2. Officially, there is no more multiplayer, at least supported by EA. I think technically there are some servers still running, but I couldn't figure out how to figure it out, and so I was forced to play the single player. Thankfully though, the single player is amazing. For everyone out there that hasn't played Battlefield 2, there wasn't an actual story campaign here. When I refer to the single player, I'm talking about playing on all of the multiplayer missions, but offline and fighting against AI bots. When I first jumped into this, I assumed that it wasn't going to be all that difficult. I thought, okay, Battlefield 2 has been out for a really long time now. The AI coding really can't be all that impressive, and it wasn't going to be all that much of a challenge. I could not have been more wrong. As soon as I bumped it up to expert difficulty, I was in for a world of hurt. The AI worked as a team. They worked as a cohesive unit. They were going for the objective. As soon as I jumped into a tank, they were using their vehicles to take out my tank. They were using RPGs. When I was low on health, my AI companions walked on over with a health bag, healed me to full, and then went back to the fight. It was amazing. I actually felt reasonably. I mean, sure, it wasn't flawless. It wasn't perfect. I mean, I was still fighting AI, and I could tell that I was fighting AI. But for the most part, it provided a challenge that I was not expecting whatsoever. It really got me thinking of why don't we have something like this in the modern Battlefield titles? I would love to play Battlefield 4 offline every once in a while, or especially if you're just new to the game, this would be a great introduction to the multiplayer scene. I know that some people will say, oh, you can just play the story campaign and you'll get used to the controls and how the game performs, and while that's absolutely true, the campaign doesn't really translate perfectly on over into the multiplayer. And while I realize it's probably very difficult for DICE to be able to code that many independent AI bots, like if it was a 64-player conquest, they would need to basically have 63 independent players running around doing their own thing, but also playing the objective. Like, that could be quite difficult for them to accomplish, but they basically did it back in Battlefield 2. I mean, this game's been out for a long time now. Not only did they do it back then, but there was also 3 different difficulties. I think DICE has the repertoire to be able to bring this to the Battlefield franchise once again, and I kind of hope that they do, because I have to say that I had a lot of fun simply just going back and playing Battlefield 2 against AI bots. One thing that I completely forgot about, though, is how much I loved to snipe in this game. I don't know what it is about Battlefield 4's sniping, but I just can't wrap my head around it. It's nowhere near as satisfying to me. I don't know if it's just simply because sniping in Battlefield 2 was easier. Maybe the bullets have a faster travel speed. Maybe you didn't have to lead your target as much. But seeing that ragdoll out in the distance and getting those headshots, for some reason, it is just way more satisfying in Battlefield 2. I remember many moons ago, it was basically the time that I fell in love with first-person shooters and knew that I was always going to be a sniper, is when I was playing on Wake Island. I, of course, was playing as the recon class. 5 guys were heading towards my objective. I was the only one around, and I knew that I needed to land every single one of my shots, a headshot, if I wanted to come out of it alive. I only had 5 rounds in the magazine, and lo and behold, I took every single one of them out. It was easily one of the best moments that I have in my gaming history. I remember it to this day distinctly, and it's the reason why I fell in love not only with the Battlefield franchise, but also sniping. And so the fact that I don't really get this sense of wonder and enjoyment when I play as the recon class in something like Battlefield 4, I think kind of just speaks volumes of the differences, the very subtle differences that have been made over the years. Maybe I just am not the same person, maybe I've grown older and I'm not just MLG Pro, but I gotta say that going back and playing as the recon was an incredible amount of fun back in Battlefield 2. Another thing I was really enjoying about my journey through nostalgia was the way that DICE handled stationary turrets back in Battlefield 2. As we all know, the 50 cal in Battlefield 4 is abysmal. It's like, why is it even in the game? I would say this is true for basically all of the stationary turrets. That is not the case whatsoever in Battlefield 2. If you jump into either like the tow rocket or you jump into one of the numerous 50 caliber weapons that are scattered around the map, if you get the drop on the enemy, or even if you don't get the drop off on the enemy, you can absolutely destroy them. I think this is due in part because these are automatic weapons that are laser beam-like accurate. If you try to use an automatic weapon weapon, like your normal assault rifle or carbine, when you're playing as one of the infantry units and you just go full blast on an enemy, only about 2 bullets are actually going to land. The bullet spread is insane in Battlefield 2. Tap fire is king. Like, if you go back and expect your skills to transfer flawlessly from the modern Battlefield games into Battlefield 2, you are going to be in for a rude awakening. And so as soon as you jump into one of these stationary turrets and you realize that you can go full auto, it has insane accuracy and it does an insane amount of damage, you realize how beneficial it is to take advantage of these things on the battlefield. I really like this type of game design. Not only does it give you something to fight over, not only does it give you something to look out for when you're either on offense or on defense, but it also gives more of a role to particular classes. Stationary turrets, in my opinion, should be powerful because, yes, they should come with the advantage that they have a lot of power behind them, but you're stationary. Because you're stationary, all of a sudden you're vulnerable to certain classes like the Recon class. Recon, all of a sudden, may not have that much of an influence on normal combat. They may not be that effective at taking out tanks, but as soon as you get into a confrontation where one guy is mowing down your entire team in the stationary turret, you swoop on in and your role is fulfilled. You have no problem taking him out, and you just provided a lot of benefit for your team. I really like that conceptually. And so in my opinion, I would not be opposed if DICE gave some loving to these stationary turrets. I know it's probably never going to happen. It seems like DICE has strayed away from that game design. I mean, we look back at Battlefield 3 and at Battlefield 4. I mean, there's literally no reason to jump into these. There's no reason whatsoever. But if they did add that back in, if they did give them a little bit more power, I could finally see these being something that people actually jump on into and serve more of a function other than just being an aesthetic, and other than just being a part of the scenery. But overall, I had a lot of fun going back and playing this game. It's not perfect, like it has aged a lot. Like I know that I was describing and we were taking a stroll down memory lane and remembering all of the great things about Battlefield 2, but it is not perfect in the slightest. I mean, granted, I was fighting against AI, but even then I could still notice some of the issues. But even still, it still has some incredible qualities to it. The ragdolls, by the way, I have to mention this before I go off, are of a high quality. This, for example, made me laugh for a good minute. I could not stop laughing at this ragdoll effect. And just in general, while yes, it is not perfect, it was really fun to go back and play this amazing game. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this stroll down memory lane. But until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.